Got it. Let's write the entire script from scratch, expanding each section to meet the 2,000 to 2,500 word target, while keeping the tone engaging, informative, and dramatic. I'll ensure each section is richly detailed to provide depth and maintain a clear, engaging flow. In the summer of 1683, Europe stood at the edge of a precipice. The heart of Christendom, the great city of Vienna, was about to be swallowed by the Ottoman Empire. With an army of 150,000 battle-hardened soldiers led by the relentless Kara Mustafa Pasha, the Ottomans were set to crush Vienna underfoot. The defenders, barely 15,000 strong, were exhausted, starving, and demoralized. The city was on the brink of collapse. It seemed like only a matter of time before the city would fall, and with it, the fate of Europe. But at the last moment, salvation arrived. An unexpected relief force led by King John III Sobieski of Poland. 80,000 Crusaders, determined to save Europe, launched a daring rescue. How could an army 70,000 smaller than the Ottomans defeat an adversary that had already encircled the city for months? The answer lies in one of the most legendary cavalry charges in history. What followed wasn't just a battle, it was a decisive turning point that would reshape the future of Europe. To understand the stakes of the Battle of Vienna, we need to step back and examine the complex geopolitical landscape of the late 17th century. Europe was divided into powerful and competing empires, and Vienna lay at the heart of it all. In the West, the Habsburg monarchy, led by Emperor Leopold I, controlled much of Central Europe. The Habsburgs had long been defenders of the Christian world, but their power was under constant threat, both from within and without. To the east, the Ottoman Empire had grown into one of the most formidable empires in history, its army a terrifying force that stretched across Europe, Asia, and Africa. The Ottomans, once the unstoppable force of the 16th century under Suleiman the Magnificent, were in decline by the late 1600s. However, their ambition remained undiminished. Kara Mustafa Pasha, the Grand Vizier of the Ottoman Empire, saw Vienna as the final prize that would restore the Ottoman Empire to its former glory. By the 1682s, the Ottomans had already made several attempts to seize Vienna, with Suleiman the Magnificent's failed siege in 1529 still fresh in the minds of the Europeans. Now, under Mustafa's leadership, the Ottomans were ready for a second attempt. On the other side, Emperor Leopold I, though not a military genius, knew the importance of Vienna's survival. Vienna was the symbolic heart of Europe, and if it fell, the Ottoman Empire would have a clear path to invade the rest of Europe. Leopold I had to rally what forces he could and turn the tide before it was too late. However, his own forces were spread thin, and the Holy Roman Empire was not as united as it needed to be. In this crisis, Vienna's survival depended on one thing: a miracle. The Siege of Vienna, the turning point of the battle. The siege begins. The Ottomans approach. On the 31st of March, 1683, the Ottomans formally declared war on the Habsburgs. Kara Mustafa Pasha, with a force of 150,000 men, including elite Janissary infantry and Sipahi cavalry, began their march toward Vienna. The Ottomans' plan was clear: take Vienna, break the heart of Christendom, and send a message to the rest of Europe. Mustafa was determined to avenge the failure of his predecessors and restore Ottoman dominance. As the Ottoman army advanced through Hungary, they left a trail of devastation. The Crimean Tatars, part of the Ottoman forces, were tasked with spreading terror-burning villages, enslaving civilians, and ensuring that the Ottomans had a clear path to Vienna. The reports of atrocities filled the streets of Europe, creating widespread fear. Inside Vienna, the situation grew dire. The city's 15,000 defenders, including regular soldiers, militia, and civilians, scrambled to prepare for the impending siege. The defenders fortified the city's strong walls and barricaded entry points, but there was little they could do to stop the oncoming storm. With the Ottoman forces closing in, Emperor Leopold I made a difficult decision. He fled the city to Passau, hoping to find reinforcements. This act of retreat severely damaged the morale of the Viennese defenders, who now felt abandoned. Despite the odds, the city's military governor, Count Ernst Rudiger von Starhemberg, remained resolute. Starhemberg knew the stakes, and though greatly outnumbered, he ordered the defenders to dig in and hold the city at all costs. For the next several weeks, the Ottomans surrounded the city, cutting off all supply lines. The siege began in earnest. The first fatal mistake, Kara Mustafa's overconfidence. Kara Mustafa, confident that victory was inevitable, chose a slow and methodical approach to breaking the city's defenses. Rather than immediately launching a full assault, he sought to starve the defenders into submission. This strategy, however, would be his first critical mistake. Mustafa's overconfidence in the psychological effects of the siege led him to neglect immediate action. He believed that the defenders, facing starvation, would eventually surrender. Even more importantly, he left behind his heavy siege artillery. The Ottomans' massive cannons, which had been used in past sieges to breach city walls, were left behind in order to hasten the march to Vienna. What they had instead were lighter field guns, which were ineffective against the city's thick walls. The defenders, under Starhemberg's leadership, fought back with surprising resilience. The city's engineers began digging countermines to undermine the Ottomans' tunnels. Inside the city, citizens and soldiers worked tirelessly to reinforce walls and repair the damage caused by the relentless artillery bombardment. Life in Vienna became a grim struggle. For survival, people were forced to eat anything they could find, including dogs, rats, and even leather. The hope of a relief army, the Polish connection. As the siege continued, the people of Vienna had one hope left: a relief army. Word had spread throughout Europe, and the message reached the Polish king, John III Sobieski. Sobieski, a seasoned commander who had fought the Ottomans before, understood the importance of Vienna. He knew that if the Ottomans succeeded, Europe would be at their mercy. Sobieski made the strategic decision to gather a force of 80,000 men from Poland, the Holy Roman Empire, and other European allies. This army, known as the Holy League, included Polish cavalry, Bavarian infantry, and soldiers from Saxony and other territories. Sobieski personally led the army. His leadership and reputation as a brilliant military strategist well established across Europe. The Holy League's arrival was not only a matter of military strategy, but also one of symbolic importance. The victory at Vienna would not only stop the Ottoman advance, but also unite various European states in defense of Christianity. However, Sobieski and his men faced immense challenges. His forces were still outnumbered, and the army had to travel across difficult terrain to reach Vienna. The pressure was mounting. Despite these challenges, Sobieski and his army made rapid progress, arriving just in time to relieve the defenders. The Holy League's advance sparked new hope among the besieged Viennese. The defenders held their position, desperate for the relief that would come. Climax: the legendary cavalry charge. The Holy League strikes on. The 12th of September, 1683, the Holy League reached the Kahlenberg Hills, which overlooked Vienna and the Ottoman camp. From this vantage point, Sobieski and his commanders could see the Ottoman encampment spread out below them, its vast size a testament to the strength of the Ottoman military. Yet, despite the odds, Sobieski knew this was the moment to strike. In a military decision that would go down in history, Sobieski ordered one of the most daring cavalry charges ever seen. With 18,000 horsemen, including 3,000 Polish winged hussars elite cavalry, known for their terrifying appearance and ferocious combat skills, the Holy League descended from the hills at dawn. The Ottoman forces, already stretched thin and weary from the long siege, were completely caught off guard. The winged hussars, wearing their famous feathered wings that created an eerie, thunderous sound as they charged, led the attack. Their impact on the Ottoman lines was devastating. The Ottoman infantry, exhausted and disorganized, had no chance against the speed and power of the Polish cavalry. The shock of the attack shattered the Ottoman defenses, and the once confident Ottoman forces began to retreat in panic. The Ottoman retreat. The Ottoman army, which had once seemed invincible, was now in full retreat. Mustafa, realizing his army was on the verge of collapse, gave the order to fall back, but it was too late. The Ottoman lines crumbled, and chaos spread throughout the ranks. Some of the Ottoman soldiers tried to escape, while others, in a desperate act of defiance, massacred their prisoners. Kara Mustafa, seeing the destruction unfolding, fled the battlefield, abandoning his men and leaving behind a scene of devastation. The Ottoman camp, once a vast city unto itself, was left unguarded. The victors poured into the camp, and for the first time in months, Vienna's defenders could finally breathe a sigh of relief. The siege was over, and Vienna had been saved. Conclusion: a turning point in history. The Battle of Vienna marked the end of the Ottoman Empire's advance into Europe. No longer would they be a direct threat to the heart of Europe. The victory shifted the balance of power in Europe, and the Habsburgs were emboldened by their success. They launched a counteroffensive that would eventually push the Ottomans out of Hungary, solidifying the Habsburgs' hold on Central Europe. For King John III Sobieski, the victory at Vienna cemented his legacy as a military genius and a hero of Christendom. His courage and leadership were celebrated across Europe, and he would forever be remembered as the savior of Europe. The victory also had lasting cultural impacts. The croissant, said to be shaped like the crescent moon on the Ottoman flag, was invented in celebration of the victory. Vienna's iconic coffee culture is also said to have been born from the sacks of coffee beans left behind by the retreating Ottomans. The Battle of Vienna wasn't just a military victory. It was a defining moment in European history, one that changed the course of the continent forever. If you enjoyed this thrilling chapter of history, don't forget to like, comment, and share this video with your fellow history enthusiasts. And if you want to dive deeper into more fascinating stories from the past, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an epic tale of history in motion. Thank you for watching.